Ты хочешь ездить в Англию?
Да, мне хотелось бы, конечно, посетить Англию, познакомиться с твоими родителями и поблагодарить их за такую хорошую девочку.
Я хочу пригласить тебя в мой дом.
Я очень рада, спасибо. Мы ждем твоих родителей, что они к нам приедут осенью.
Да, хорошо.
Мы им очень благодарны за такую девочку.
Я рада.
My mother wants that you will come in summer, and she wants buy for you and for me tickets to the Black Sea.
Oh, Tanya, that would be
We
brilliant.
spend our time in summer in Black Sea.
Oh, that would be brilliant.
Yes. You
У
want?
нас много
Oh,
зелени,
yes.
много цветов.
Yeah.
My mother cook tomorrow
Oh.
menu for you.
Because I go home.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Спасибо большое.
I want that my children and I live in England. I want that children will see how England people live there, and I want that they understand that English people beautiful. And after I want to come back in this country, because I was born in this country. I like my country and my people. In this country, my family, my friend.
See you in summer?
Yes, in summer we will go on Black Sea together.
Yeah, I hope so. It's an experience that you could never gain without really going there and living their lifestyle. And I think I've gained a lot from it. And you learn to depend on yourself a bit. Even though you're living with a family, you've got to have your own independence.
Jill, come on.
And I think now, if I went to saw Tanya again, I think I could communicate a lot better with her because I'm on the same understanding as she is. Well, at least I understand a little bit of what she goes through every day. Even though it's a day-to-day struggle here in the Ukraine, it would never change my mind no matter what. Because there's still something about this place that you just can't take away from it. I mean, people and personality, well, the whole country. I just think it's brilliant, and I still want to live here. And no matter how many times I come back or how harder I see it's getting, I still want to come, and I still want to work here, and that's my ambition.
That is so excellent, and another majorly interesting lowdown, only here at Children's
by the British
to finish, and indeed they have now, the women's shot being the final field event in action before they allow the final track event of the whole competition to take place. That's why there's a bit of a delay now before we see that women's 4x4. Final event, the 4x4 100 metres relay women. We've been having massive consultations here in the commentary box about what this all means, and I've got to bring in Steve Ovett, who I think has got a better idea than me. Basically, of course, Britain has to finish ahead of Russia and preferably ahead of Germany, but even not as simple as that, Steve, is it?
I'm glad you've given me this task, Alan. it's something which does need explaining very carefully, and I'm the man, obviously, for the job, as you know.
Absolutely.
Yes. Well, the Russians really, we've got to beat them. If we beat the Russians, that means we're through. So that's a simple fact of life. The other problem, obviously, is the Germans. Now, we've got confidence is high, but they've still got a bit of a task there.
Well, I hope the crowd is as aware as Steve Ovet is. 10 out of 10, Steve. Take away the number you first thought of. I hope the crowd are absolutely clued into this situation. I'm sure the public address announcer will have acquainted them with exactly what needs to be done by the British team here. Whatever, I'm sure they'll get a rousing welcome in this race. As you can see, we're in lane 7. Melanie Neve, who had a marvellous run yesterday for second in the individual 400 metres, is our lead-off runner. Belarus are in lane 6. Kozak running the first leg for them. And then in lane 5, the team that we have to keep a very, very careful eye on here. And unfortunately, as luck would have it, it's a very strong event for them. The Russians in lane 5, Golosheva, their opening leg. The French, who don't really count in terms of the machinations about the final match positions, are in lane 6, with the Romanians. Runners-up in the Women's European Cup final last year, by the way. They haven't done so well this time. They're in lane 3. A strong German team, as you would expect, in lane 2. And the Ukraine in lane 1. The whole British quartet here is Melanie Neve, Tracy Goddard, Phyllis Smith, who is certainly a contender for the individual spot in the 400. She'd had a couple of injury problems. That's why Melanie Neve got picked ahead of her and justified her selection with her fine run yesterday. Phyllis Smith then will be good for us on the third leg. And who better than the captain, Sally Gunnell, to run the fourth and final leg. So the 1994 European Cup final for women reaches its climax, and what an exciting climax it promises to be, with Great Britain in contention for a place in the top 2 and therefore qualification for the European Cup final, or the World Cup final rather. This is the European Cup final, and this is an exciting finish, and this is a great start by Melanie Neve for Great Britain. This is just what we wanted, Steve Ovet.
Oh, this is terrific stuff. Melanie has really blasted it. She doesn't know any other way of running, but she's taken it by the scruff of the neck, and she's tore around this first part of the race. Just on the inside there, the Russians also have got a shaver running well, but Neith really has run a storming leg. Got a shaver's run equally as well when you consider the stagger, but the main problem of the Germans are just out of our picture at the moment, way back there in 5th or 6th, so that's good news.
Well, you could not have scripted it better than this. What a finish to this European Cup final. The British women with a great start given them by Melanie Neve. Tracy Goddard picks up the baton.
52.9, the first 400 metres for Melanie Neve.
And the Germans have fought their way back into contention. The Russians well placed. But the main thing is that as they break from lanes here, Great Britain are in a good position, but I don't quite understand why Tracy Goddard is staying out wide there.
No, it's not Tracy Goddard, thankfully. It's the Russian that's run the whole leg out in her lane, which has mean that she's done us a tremendous favour there.
That's unbelievable. Well, I was totally confused by that, because she should have broken from lanes much, much earlier than that. She didn't, and that has suddenly given Britain a great hope. A great run too by Goddard. Well, what do you make of that, Steve?
Well, I think it may have even handed us the World Cup on a plate there. By doing that, that means that we're actually in front of the Russians, and that's vitally important.
52.32 leg for Goddard to keep us well in contention, and Phyllis Smith now running for us in second place.
Well, that was remarkable. Total inexperience, obviously, but you really wouldn't expect it from the Russians, who've got some work to do now to make up for that incredible error on the second leg. Well, great running by Phyllis Smith.
Well, Phyllis Smith has run really well. The Russians closing, but we've got Sally Gunnell, don't forget, on the last leg, and I don't think anybody's going to overtake Sally Gunnell when she knows what she's got to do.
It's neck and neck between Phyllis Smith and the Russian Andreeva, but it's Sally Gunnell against Goncharenko, winner of the individual 400 on the final leg. Remember, if Britain win here, if Sally Gunnell crosses the line first, then Great Britain will go to the World Cup final. What a finish this is!
Great run by Smith, 51 one leg.
Gunnell has all the experience, has all the speed, has all the nerve. If it all comes together over this final 200, Britain have scored a great triumph here. Just listen to the noise in the stadium. Sally Gunnell can take the British women into the World Cup final here. Goncharenko sprints hard in the home straight, but Sally Gunnell's going to do it. It's a magnificent triumph by Gunnell, and the British women have made it. I do honestly believe that that run will have given Sally Gunnell as much pleasure as that World Olympic gold medal and that world record, because that was for the team, that was for the nation.
And Gunnell's leg was 50.1, a fantastic performance. It means, as you say, Alan, that Britain go to the World Cup. Germany will win this with 98, Britain have 97, Russia have 95, the greatest triumph in British women's team athletics ever.
Well, Peter said it all. This has been an historic weekend for the British women, and they deserve every moment of these joyous celebrations. Our best ever, previous to today, was third in Gateshead on that magnificent weekend for British athletics 5 years ago. 3 times we finished fourth. The British women led overnight by only a couple of points. It's been a day largely of British triumphs, but it was all in the balance when it came to that final event.
The important thing is Britain on 85.5. Ukraine and Russia are the two main threats, and the triple jump, the 4x4 relay, and the men's 5,000 metres, the only event still to go. The men's 5,000, it's our weakest event probably at the moment. They're well underway. Let's rejoin our commentary team, Peter Matthews, Steve Ovett and Alan Parry.
Thanks, Jim. Just under 7 laps to go for the runners in the 5,000 metres. Abdellah Bahar, the Frenchman, born in Morocco, but qualified to run for France now, has the lead here. But just jogging along, almost alongside him, John Mayock of Great Britain, the 23-year-old from Cannock, winner of the World Student Games, I remember, in Sheffield a couple of years ago. The important thing to watch for here, of course, is the relative position of the Russian in the field. The Russian is wearing number 7 in the blue shorts and white. They don't necessarily matter as far as Great Britain is concerned. So from the inside, it's Germany lane 1, Ukraine in 2, France in 3, Great Britain in lane 4, Dwayne Ladejo running the opening leg for us, Romania in 5, Italy in 6, Sweden in 7, and Russia in lane 8. It's strange how things come around again, because in 1993, Russia got an excellent second place in this final event, the 4x4, and that really made our victory in that race irrelevant. But the points difference then was not what it is now. Britain has the upper hand going into this final race, and they'll all be inspired by what's gone before them. You can be sure of that. The Russians have got a good team here. Od.зб running the first leg for them. It's always difficult to sort out the leading positions on this first leg, as they do run in lanes. When they've broken from the bend here, we'll have a clearer idea. But what is clear is that Great Britain are off to a flying start. Brilliant run from Ladejo.
Yeah, and his time 45.8.
And what a moment for this young man who has the baton for Britain now. Adrian Patrick, a 21-year-old from the Windsor Slough and Eton club. It's his debut in a Great Britain vest, would you believe? Sweden are in second place. The Russians third. We have to stay in front of Russia. We have to keep the baton safely in our hands. And if we do, the men will join the women in the World Cup final. Patrick's tying up a little here, but he's run a marvellous race considering it's his first ever at this level. The Russians came storming through as well towards the end there.
Well, Brian Whittle's got the baton in his hand, and Brian's the sort of man that can run this leg without any shoes on and still come tearing through.
Look at him go down that back straight. He's got to stay in front of the Russian, though. The Swede still leads.
46.9 leg for Patrick.
Whittle's got himself in front of the Russian, so it's Sweden, Britain, Russia, and the Russians losing ground to the Frenchman. That's good news for Great Britain. Brian Whittle has run a brilliant leg here. If he can hold on, he's got to hold on here. And Roger Black, the great Roger Black, lies in wait for the anchor leg. The Russians have moved back into second place. It's Roger Black who takes us into the lead and into the final lap of the final event.
Great leg by Whittle, 45.2.
Well, I was just worried there as the battle was changed. Roger just hesitated slightly, but I think he wanted to make absolutely sure the Russians are closing. But my money is on Roger Black. I don't think anybody would bet against this sort of calibre of man.
Diagana running well for the French here in third place. Roger Black has been out of the sport for a whole year. He's missed something like 3 years of his great career because of injury and illness. But this is a moment when Roger Black is back on top of the winner's rostrum again. And it's been a great weekend for British athletics. The men and the women go to the World Cup final. Magnificent.
A cool 44.6 seconds is all it took Roger to get round that final leg.
Well, if anyone doubted, the track and field is one of Britain's most successful sports. This weekend has brushed away those doubts surely. Congratulations to the Germans, a men's and women's double for them. They won the men's European Cup final by 121 points, but Great Britain were in second place with 106.5 points to Russia's 100 dead. So Britain take that second qualifying spot for the World Cup final. And if Gateshead 5 years ago, written confirmation of that result. Germany 121 points. Britain in second place will go to Crystal Palace in September in men's and women's events to contest.
I'm suspicious of people in uniform. Back in the Soviet Union, they represented a system which could reduce you to dust at the first sign of disobedience. Well, systems change, but uniforms remain. The railway staff look just as intimidating on the train from Berlin to Kiev. Nearly 5 years ago, I bought a one-way train ticket to the West, which meant freedom. The place I'm going to was then called the Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic. Now it's Ukraine, a free and independent nation. Freedom is supposed to lie ahead of me, as well as behind. But does it? The way to freedom is a long and bumpy journey. This train now belongs to Ukrainian Railways, but it's still wearing its old Soviet uniform, worn out and awfully familiar. This says don't open the window. The air conditioner is working. In fact, you can open the window and there is no air conditioner. It doesn't exist. But it's wonderful. I can't believe I'm again on a Soviet train. Yes, this train looks very Soviet. The smell is very Soviet. These carriages, they were actually built in East Germany, but all over the Soviet Union, from Kaliningrad to Vladivostok, you know, these trains used to run, and I spent half of my life on these trains. I actually quite like them. Oh, there is a toilet, that's good news. The smell here is different. It's not the smell of Johnny's, something else. It's still not too bad, actually. I think I should try and check it tomorrow morning, if I can. Toilets, actually, in the former Soviet Union are very much unlike those in the West. In fact, it was probably the biggest shock for me when I first came to the west several years ago, and well, I took a ferry from Hook of Poland, and I went to the toilet there, and I couldn't believe it was a toilet. Well, I thought it was a barber shop in the beginning, because it was so clean and it smelled so nice.
Choosing to take the train away from home was the hardest decision I've ever had to make.
I'm looking through the diary I kept during my last 3 months in the Soviet Union, in Moscow. These were probably the most awful months in my entire life. The KGB were after me. They wanted to recruit me, to inform on my colleagues, on my foreign friends. I refused. They started pestering me with calls, tapping my phone, intercepting my mail. It was like living under siege. After a while, I realized that there was only one choice for me and my family, and that was to leave.
I'm crossing Germany and Poland, and then through another brand new country, Belarus, to Kiev and my hometown, Kharkov.
So, Matthias, where are you going to?
I'm going to Kharkov.
To Kharkov?
Yes, of course.
Well, I'm going to Kharkov as well. Why, of course.
I'm traveling with a young Berliner who is a student in Ukraine.
My first travel companion, actually, on this trip, and then you're going to Kharkov, to the same place where I go. I was born in Kharkov.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but I mean, I haven't been there for many years. What's the situation now? I mean, it's very hard for me to imagine. I mean, how would you describe? Is it?
It's terrible because the most of factories are closed.
Mm-hmm.
The people doesn't work. They are on holidays without any pay.
Without pay. So how do they live? How do they survive?
I don't know.
Do you know what's the difference between capitalism and communism?
No, I don't.
Well, capitalism is exploitation of one man by another, and communism is the other way around. And what's the difference between democracy and socialist democracy? It's like the difference between a normal chair and an electric chair. The anecdotes from my dissident past, you know. We used to tell them in the kitchens with the telephone covered with a pillow, you know. Yeah, we would get together, we'd have a bottle of vodka, and we would cover the telephone with a pillow, because we thought that somehow the pillow could block the KGB bugging devices, which was stupid, of course, but in a strange way it did give us some reassurance. Do people still cover telephones with pillows in Kharkov?
I did not see it.
So you don't?
I did not see it.
Yeah, because there are, well, probably there are not enough pillows now.
You can redecorate the walls and rearrange the furniture in the house of your childhood, but you can't change the view from its window. The closer we come to the border of the former Soviet Empire, the more confused and insecure I feel.
So here we are. I never thought I would make this journey again in any direction. It's in the middle of the night, and we have just gone through all this border controls sadism, I would call it, in the middle of the night. They keep you from sleeping, they wake you up. As soon as you fall asleep, you know, they wake you up. All these bright lamps, loud music. And yeah, local time is about 4 o'clock a.m. And Central European time is about 2 o'clock a.m. Wonderful.
Так, снимать не надо.
Doesn't want you to film.
Okay.
The frontier guard is still wearing his old Soviet manner. Same uniform, same rudeness. I take bribes is written all over his face.
Так, что у вас, виза есть?
Виза куда? Мы едем на Украину, у нас съемочная группа.
Вас вы едете транзитом на данный момент через Белоруссию.
Понятно.
У вас должны быть транзитные визы. Беларусь.
Мы об этом узнали только вот буквально в поезде. Нам сказали, что можно здесь.
Так, Виталий, да?
Да.
Так. Так, подтверждающий цель поездки есть документы?
Да, у нас все есть.
Пожалуйста.
They want to see the documents specifying the purpose of our journey. And, вот это письмо, объясняющее цель поездки нашей. Но на английском языке.
Вы втроем едете, да?
Да, настрою. Ведущий это я, режиссер и оператор.
98, все. На коридор, пожалуйста.
We have to move.
We are now in Brest. The time is approaching 4:15 a.m. and the changing of gauge is underway. The gauge in the former Soviet Union is wider than in the rest of Europe, so it emphasizes the difference of the place where we just arrived. My first contact with the former Soviet Union, with Belarus, was short of appalling inside the railway station in Brest, where we were taken by the frontier guards to buy our Belarusian transit visas for an hour and a half. The stench was much worse than ever before, but what shocked me most was a complete hopelessness on people's faces. Much bigger hopelessness and despair than ever before. They were all queuing and pushing and crowding, trying to get to the customs office to get a stamp to be able to go to Poland. And they were guarded by Spetsnaz soldiers with truncheons, and they were just treated like animals. Well, and I don't know, I just looked at their faces, and it was plain that these people did not expect anything of life, that they were mistreated on a large scale. They were very badly treated, they were not respected, and they didn't have any hope. I mean, the impression was so painful that my ulcer, a souvenir from my Soviet past, started hurting. It does hurt now.
After all this, I'm feeling pretty bitter. So I've taken all the anti-acid pills I brought with me and finally managed a couple of hours sleep.
Well, I'm going to apply a nicotine patch. I'm trying to give up smoking. About 10 days ago, I started. And I know it's not a good time, you know, when you're going back to your native country for the first time in many years. Emotionally it's hard, but I just decided that if it's going to work, you know, it has to be done at an emotionally hard time. And it will probably know. I'm already finding it hard, but I'm determined to try and stay away from smoking anyway now.
It's pouring outside. We are approaching Kiev. Welcome to Ukraine. In Russian, rain is a happy omen for a journey. In English, I'm not so sure. I feel more like a foreigner heading into the unknown than a prodigal son returning to his homeland. The first thing a foreigner does on arrival is try to change money. When I was last here, they would give you half a ruble for $1.
Вы закрыты, да?
But in the topsy-turvy world of the old Soviet Union, closed can sometimes mean open, and you have to expect surprises.
The exchange rate to $1 is, as you see, it's 45,800 coupons. So if I'm lucky, I'll get more than 4.5 million coupons for that. So I'll become a millionaire several times over. My age-long dream is going to come true now in a couple of moments. Here you go. A new millionaire is about to be born. 1 million.
And so, with 4.5 million coupons in my pocket, or rather weighing down my shoulder bag, I head for the peasants' market. The currency of Ukraine is in free fall. Coupons are like monopoly money, not worth the paper they're printed on. Freedom seems exorbitantly expensive for Ukrainians. As an old Russian fable goes, the eye sees, but the tooth cannot reach.
Почем огурчики ваши? 150 это за килограмм, да?
Да.
А можно взять вот одно яблочко и один огурчик?
Пожалуйста, 20 тысяч огурчик и яблочко 15.
Это много.
50 кило.
Вот, пожалуйста.
Пожалуйста, возьмите.
Сколько я могу? Один взять огурчик, да?
Да. Хочешь, бери 2.
С удовольствием, если вы разрешите.
Окей.
И одно яблочко, да?
Пожалуйста.
Вот это хорошо. О, прелесть какая. Salted cucumbers, mildly salted cucumbers, wonderful. And this is a pickled apple. Terrific. Half-forgotten taste. Все это, да? Это 50, да? Окей, спасибо. Wonderful. А дорого, да, это?
А как же вы думаете, если пенсия маленькая очень, купите это?
Это стипендия?
Пенсия.
Пенсия 50 тысяч в месяц?
Нет, 200 тысяч.
200.
Да, а что же хлеб стоит один?
So I've just spent 1/4 of this old lady's monthly pension, you know, to buy this 2 cucumbers and 1 apple.
Каждый может то купить.
No, for some reason it stopped tasting that nice.
Ukraine is in a mess. You can feel the turmoil in the streets of Kiev. No wonder everyone goes for the security of hard currency. Buying foreign money on the street used to be a capital crime. Now it's just one of many ways to make capital. What people want is dollars, marks, and even Russian rubles. What about pounds?
Hello, good morning. I'd like to exchange some pound sterling. Why? What sort of money do you change? Why not? The Queen of England, you see, it's a very good money. It's better than a dollar. Pound sterling.
Заплатите за то, что наши лица сняли.
Do you change them? No, you don't. Why? What I will do with your pound? Well, it's better than a dollar.
Стань, да не бойся от англичан.
Так, 16 сдачи. За это надо деньги платить. Вот, да.
Сейчас я вас поменяю.
Сколько сдачи?
16.
16?
Добрый день.
Не, это вот я ему меняю. Даю 16. Да? Не, я все ухожу. Да я вот фотографирую. Англичане, пусть фотографируют.
Поднимайте, что?
Я уйду сейчас. Я ему просто знаю. Да я заберу.
Что они хотели от вас?
А?
Что они хотели? Почему они не разрешают?
Не разрешают. Забрать могут. Они могут забрать.
есть-
У нас запрещают все. Понимаешь, голодным только сидеть не запрещают.
Угу.
Вот, голодному можно сидеть и это умирать дома и тихо, спокойно.
She only specializes in rubles. She doesn't even know
Да.
what pounds mean. Вы не видели никогда таких денег? Нет? Это вот королева, видите? The Queen of England.
Королева, дайте я посмотрю.
Пожалуйста.
Неинтересная женщина.
She thinks she is not attractive. The Queen is not attractive. Her mouth is too big and her nose is too big. But this is a very complimentary portrait, you see? This is when she was young. Это когда она молодой была.
Ну, некрасивая. Невестка у нее красивее.
She says that her daughter-in-law is much more beautiful than she is. Принцесса Диана вы имеете в виду, да?
Да.
And she is asking whether this is the Queen's husband. No, this is Charles Dickens, actually. This is a very well-known English writer, Charles Dickens. Да.
Это мы знаем.
She knows Charles Dickens.
Her husband is not a writer, no. It's my first ever ride in a Chaika, the Rolls-Royce of Soviet officialdom. But I'm doing it in one of the world's most dangerous places. Amazingly, Chernobyl has become a hard currency earner for Ukraine. The Ministry of Chernobyl conducts tours around the contaminated zone. My guide's name is Ella.
Before the accident, there were about 13,000 people living here. Just after the accident, all the people were moved from this town.
And now it's just workers actually who come on shifts.
Yeah. Another problem, you know, is also the cover of the reactor. It is now in unstable position.
So you will see all of that and you'll tell me on the spot,
Oh no,
yes?
you will not see this.
We won't see. But we'll see the reactor, the sarcophagus. We'll be able to see.
Only the shelter, the sarcophagus,
Right.
but not reactor inside. Программку я вам положила там.
This is the innermost zone, 10 kilometers around the reactor. Only authorized personnel and crazy tourists like me are allowed in. The patch is still here. Well, shall I leave it? Poison keeps being released into my body. Now I'll get some more through my lungs. They tell me I need protective clothing, but radiation levels are hundreds of times higher than the accepted maximum. I guess the only thing that could do the job properly would be a medieval knight's suit of armor, lined with lead. Is the front?
No.
Back.
Back.
Are they trying to humiliate me? They insist I wear this silly bonnet. I look as if I have just escaped from a lunatic asylum.
Thank you very much.
Maybe I was mad to come. Radiation killed my father at the age of 56. But there is no going back now.
So now you can see the cooling point of the reactor, and now we are coming to the plant itself. To the left of the tower you can see the sarcophagus.
8 years after the explosion, Chernobyl remains an inoperable cancer on the face of the earth. The authorities want to keep it open, so Ukraine will be less dependent on Russia for energy. But if the reactor explodes again, there may not be many energy consumers left in Ukraine or even in Britain.
I called it monster.
It does look pretty monstrous. What's the radiation level now? Let's ask the dosimetrist. Sasha, какой сейчас уровень? The reactor keeps leaking all the time, but Sasha isn't even wearing a mask. Is he madder than me?
Получается 289 микрорентген.
Right, so it's 2,340 microrengens. Well, in the car we had from 200 to 1,000 when we were leaving the car. So it's quite higher than before. Меняется уровень? Повышается или остается все время одинаковым?
Уровень постоянно меняется.
And this level keeps changing all the time.
Даже если я подойду несколько метров вперед, там уже будет больше.
Even if I step forward several meters, it will be much more there.
Я даже могу это продемонстрировать.
I can
Я
even
буду
show
идти
this,
и говорить,
it says.
как он меняется.
So he's now going to walk forward and say, as he walks, he will be saying how the radiation level keeps changing. By the way, normal background radiation is 5 to 10 microrengens per hour.
2340.
2,340.
2480.
2,480.
2750.
2,750. Спасибо, Саш. Возвращайтесь к нам. Come back, please.
This shelter was built on the ruins of the reactor and of the walls. And now a lot of scientists work inside.
Inside the reactor?
To supervise the situation, to control the situation.
Inside the reactor, you mean?
Yeah, yeah.
But that must be terribly dangerous.
Somebody should do this. Of course, there are some controlling equipment. I mean, computers and cameras and everything. But sometimes scientists really have to go inside.
Do you think this reactor can explode again? Theoretically, at least.
Well, now the scientists are expecting for another disaster, or they say it's possible to be. It depends on the cover of the reactor. I told you it is now in an unstable position, and if it falls inside the reactor, so there will be a splash of dust, of contaminated dust, which will go out these holes, and then this disaster will be much more worse than this Chernobyl disaster.
Is this a possibility or a certainty? Just a question of time?
Nobody knows. The scientists cannot answer this question.
But it can happen.
This can happen any minute, they say.
Half a kilometer from the plant is Pripyat, a town that used to house 50,000 people, all evacuated after the explosion. These dead apartment blocks are the standard Soviet kind. Suddenly, I'm numb because the layout is exactly the same as my last flat in Kharkov. Same corridor, same furniture, same bookshelves, same bathroom. It feels like trudging through the ruins of my childhood. Silence and death, they have ruined my country. They have changed the view from my window. People had no time to celebrate the 1st of May in 1986, and now they never will. I need a symbol of life in this dead place, and I find one. The stalks are back, and stalks in Ukraine mean hope. До побачення, Kyiv. Привіт, Kharkiv. I want to greet my native city in Ukrainian, because if Ukraine is to survive, Kharkov, with its industry and science, is the key to the future. I can't wait to be there.
Because there are places where you must always come back. The places where you were born, you know, you don't choose these places. You can't choose your parents, you can't choose the place where you were born. And I think it's a must to come back there. Not necessarily for good, not necessarily to live, but to be able to see the place where you were born, the school where you studied, the friends of your childhood. I think it is essential for a human being to function properly. And those people who are detached, completely detached from their motherland, I think they're pretty miserable.
I feel in one way a stranger, and yet it's as if I'd never been away.
It's amazing because it looks like the place hasn't changed. It just looks more provincial than before, probably. Maybe after London, I don't know, after Kyiv even. Yes, this is the square which used to be called the Soviet Ukraine Square. I'm not sure what it is called now. And this monument on the left, the monument, I think it was the monument to the 50th anniversary of the Soviet power in Ukraine, but popularly it was known as a group of people carrying refrigerator across the square. Вот гостиница прямо здесь. Вот она. This is the hotel.
And this is the street where I was born 40 years ago. It's called Culture Street. Heaven knows why. The memories are flooding back.
Oh, God.
I'm 3 hours late and hoping my friend Tolik will still be there to meet me.
Ну, здорово.
Обалдеть можно. Похудел? Нет, прекрасно выглядишь.
Ну вот прекрасно, значит похудел, наверное.
Нет, ничего не похудел. Ты такой же прекрасный. Okay, I'm not supposed to speak English right now, okay?
Не замечай камеру пока. Ты совсем не изменился. Тоже. Я тебя вроде как не видел как 5 лет.
5? 5? Нет, не 5.
Как будто бы 5. Ты давно ждешь?
Конечно.
Серьезно?
Да. Я уже кофе бегал пить уже столько миллион раз.
Тут еще и кофе есть?
Да.
А больше никто не пришел, да?
Ну, в принципе, все готовы.
Готовы?
Да. А что, тут нужно было...
Да нет.
По-моему, это отдельно.
Tolik is now working in Saltovka, a drab dormitory suburb with 3 shops, 1 cinema and 400,000 people. Like me, Tolik was trained as a linguist, but now, in order to earn a living, he's had to become a shopkeeper. Suddenly, there is a hint of a gap between us.
So that's your Marks and Spencer?
Yeah.
Well, it's much better actually than Marks and Spencer, I think.
Much better.
Yeah, very nice plastic bags. They don't have any plastic bags on sale in Marks and Spencer, I can tell you.
Okay.
Anyhow. It's quite a strange choice.
It's a typical choice.
Wow.
Typical any small retail business here. It's just very typical.
Shoes and biscuits together on the same counter. So, are you really selling these plastic bags?
Yes, we do.
Why don't you just give them away like that? This will attract customers.
It's only in the West, you know. You haven't been living here for a long time, you know. You're away and you've forgotten everything. Business is non-existent here in this country. Non-existent yet. You have to understand this.
So how would you call yourself then?
Well, I don't have a name. You may name myself.
An entrepreneur or what?
Something like this. If you like it. But you know, the business culture is non-existent, I repeat. There's no banking system. There's no legislative system ready for these things. And as opposite to the people who sell their goods at a flea market things, we have developed something a bit more respectable, something of a more social meaning to the people and to us, you know. We keep body and soul together. We cannot afford cruises on Mediterranean cruises and Mercedes cars, but still we are alive, and in this country we create jobs. We create jobs. People work here, and state-owned companies just dismiss people. They are just being dismissed. Unemployment. That's what's vital here. That's what. So think about it.
Maybe we'll swap. I mean, you'll let me run the shop for a while, and you'll go to London and write for the European.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay. You go there.
What about my passport?
Wonderful shoes. Only 8,000 coupons. Oh, sorry, bloody hell. 800,000 coupons.
800?
Only 2 monthly salaries.
Oh no.
Bit too small for me. They're lady shoes anyway, aren't they? I told you I was hopeless.
It's too much.
Next morning, I leave the hotel to make a private phone call from a public telephone, a habit from Soviet days. The first step towards real freedom in Ukraine, free public telephones. Not because of the authorities' goodwill, but simply due to the lack of coins. Most of them do not work, though. But I do have some important calls to make. Back in the hotel, instead of breakfast, there is an impromptu vodka party going on in my room.
Это очень важно для фильма.
Я не буду называть никаких сумм.
My old school friend Oleg has turned up, bringing a strange-looking man I don't know. This man, who used to work for the KGB, thinks he can help me. I want to contact a KGB officer who victimized me years ago. Frankly, this doesn't look like a promising start.
Если этот человек только не засекречен, я сделаю все, чтобы вы с ним увиделись. То есть мы можем через официальные каналы идти.
Нет, проблем не возникнет. Единственная проблема его личная. Как он Фамилия скажет? будет,
Все понятно,
как он
если
скажет?
он скажет
Всё.
нет, то значит...
Да, фамилия будет называться?
Но нам это очень важно. Как он скажет? Фамилию нет, мы можем не называть фамилию. Снять его, снять просто... Мы будем говорить со мной, никаких не будет претензий к нему, ничего. Времена другие и так далее. Вот в таком
Совершенно
плане.
верно. Другие времена никто не скрывается делать какой-то...
Можешь, Алеша, ты это сделать, да, более-менее оперативно?
Ну, я думаю, что... Я считаю так, что завтра утром я буду с ним разговаривать. Вот так. Не то чтобы сегодня вечером, потому что сегодня вечером сам понимаешь.
То есть это, наверное, нужно поговорить не по телефону, да, так лично все-таки?
Ну, карточку.
Да.
Я думаю, если будет это...
Это очень важно, если
на
ты это
дачу
сделаешь,
даже
если ты это сделаешь, мы тебе тоже что-то сможем. Это не, я думаю, что вы бы для меня это сделали и так, особенно Алик. У нас
Сделай
еще.
Шпинат, ой, корень. Ладно, это, значит, наливаем. Переставай снимать. Скажи, что он перестал снимать. Мы начинаем.
Почему?
Он одновременно
Пейте, пейте.
Витя, я не буду.
Идет все время со мной, так что вы к ним привыкаете.
Звук одновременно.
Кому-то их нет.
Все,
да.
окей. Звук одновременно идет одновременно.
Да, все идет одновременно. Это новая
Нормально,
аппаратура.
это нормальная камера.
Пленки много. Так что они будут со мной все время. Привыкайте к этому.
Хорошо.
Не замечайте.
Водка русская, ну, харьковского разлива.
Его нет, ты понимаешь?
Его нет, все. Его нет, потому что это будут все кадры уже...
Ну, отлично, значит, Алёш, давай тогда сразу запишу твой телефон, потому что это очень важно. Спасибо. Тут домашний есть тоже, да?
Борис, там домашний, остальное все...
Thank you. European. Виталий, коммунист?
Коммунист?
Меня так назвали в Гибралтаре. Communist for the European. As Chekhov said, time you spend fishing is not included in your lifespan. Maybe that's why Oleg and I loved fishing when we were young. We wanted to live forever. I'm beginning to understand Oleg's problem. His whole brilliant career as a doctor of physics has come to an end. Что никаких исследований не проводится?
Ну, если нет бюджета на финансирование, нет бюджета на науку, конечно, не проводятся. У нас ребята в физико-техническом институте из моей группы не получают то же самое зарплату. Все программы прикрываются.
Ну как люди живут вообще?
Коммерция, спекуляция.
Это вообще как удар под дых от системы.
Да нет, можно, я-то получаю больше. Опять.
А что с ускорителем сейчас?
Ну, если стоит дорого.
Ну, что-то не то вообще явно происходит. А ты говорил, ты сейчас какие-то вещи продавать должен.
Нет, ну опять коммерция. Связался с ребятами, там группа людей, достали по дешевке канадские шмотки. В Москве нелегально вывезли, дали взятку таможни российской. По $20. Ну, накладные расходы большие.
Это не коммерция, это просто.
Пытаемся здесь. Пытаемся много везде. Пытаемся здесь теперь реализовать.
Ну а что дальше? Так же не может долго продолжаться.
Конечно, не может.
Что будет дальше, как ты думаешь?
Ну, были мысли, если заколотили там какую-нибудь сумму, $1000.
Ну.
Фирму открыть, заниматься уже этой же дорожкой.
А значит, с физикой конец?
Да, конечно.
Как это?
Ну, физика не будет в этой стране уже лет 50. Когда африканцы придут нас учить.
As a journalist, I've written a lot about Soviet organized crime. And from what I know, it has come out into the open in Ukraine. Even my friend Tolik in his little shop is having to pay protection money. Are criminals the only ones to benefit from freedom? I'm trying to reach some shadowy characters in Kharkov. Спасибо, всего доброго. До свидания. His wife sounded really nice. I think it's a lot of bullshit what that guy said actually about the mafia. Anyway, they just... Well, we'll see.
Папу обижает.
Не-не-не-не.
Иди ко мне скорее. Не, его не тронь, он без команды не тронь. Дай мне лапы.
Sasha doesn't look like a godfather at all. He welcomes me warmly. It's Caesar that I'm worried about. You wouldn't want to argue with Caesar.
Куда ты пошел? Он любит машины, кататься в машине.
Сколько лет ему?
2,5.
Да. Здорово.
Я ему говорю, что папа обижает.
Кто папу обижает? Да. То есть, если вы дадите команду, то он уничтожает вообще человека. Да вы не давайте пока.
Mysterious-looking men keep arriving in Western cars. Never in Ukraine have I seen so many plush cars in one place. I'm told that all but one are stolen, and that one is probably hijacked.
Здравствуйте.
Привет.
Вы приехали? Это телевидение к нам в гости с Андреем.
This visitor is introduced to us, spots the camera, and vanishes like greased lightning. Sasha seems on good terms with everyone. Definitely a man one could do business with. Could, but probably shouldn't.
Вот тут эти фирмы, вот эти вот компании наши, да, вот тут много собирается все время. Очень тут солидная публика собирается все время. И пусть это такое, вот, скажем, внешнее состояние этого всего, но основные вопросы вот, по бизнесу в городе, скажем, решаются, вот, скажем, здесь.
These people even have their own petrol supply.
Ну вот более конкретно о вашем предприятии, если можно, вот и о себе немножко, вот как вы, так сказать, стали бизнесменом. Да.
У меня судьба хорошая. Я 7 лет находился...
сидел, при нацистах сидел.
Я 7 лет находился под следствием. Это уникальный... Валечка, закрой, пожалуйста, дверь и никого не...
А? Мир попозже будет.
Валя, у нас съемка. Вот. Поэтому, значит, мне довелось немножко испытать любви к нашему государству, коммунистическому.
Понятно.
Так как я работал замдиректора фабрики, и для того, чтобы в фабрике выжить, фабрика, некоторые ателье занимались частно-предпринимательской деятельностью.
Здесь в Харькове, да?
Да, здесь в Харькове.
Ну, все у нас бедная семейка.
Ну, у нас съемка идет, у нас англичане. Ну, сейчас, подожди. Вид какой. Валя, ты говоришь всем, что съемка никого не пускай.
Здравствуйте. Ну что, привет.
Фирма послала своего лоера за границу, в Норвегию, закупить селедку. Мы договорились, что селедку мы закупим по 90 центов с доставкой сюда. А здесь продадим по доллару 5. То есть заложим свои 10-15% прибыли. И нас вполне это устраивало. Пока мы отправили туда, чтобы покрыть командировочные, чтобы фирма имела какой-то бизнес. Пока мы отправили туда лоера, пока пришла селедка, законы Украины изменились. И старым законом, старым числом, то есть это было в марте месяце, принимается закон, что от 1 января и вводится налог на добавленную стоимость, НДС, так называемый на Украине.
Это бьет и по людям тоже ведь?
Ну конечно, это 28%.
Это только по людям.
Это только по людям ударит. Деньги это падают в бездну, неизвестно куда, и пропадают. А у людей, которых зарплата 400 тысяч, это существенно. 30% их зарплаты просто взяли и срезали. 28% каждый месяц забирают. На все продукты, на которые они покупают, введен налог, НДС. Это просто рэкет на уровне государства. Валя!
Да, всех мы пройдем.
Валечка, пусть принесут образцы наших рубашек и трусиков.
Александр, такой вопрос. Вот сейчас на Западе много пишут о, так сказать, об организованной преступности в России, о том, что все новые бизнесы, как бы, так сказать, подмяты, да, и находятся под влиянием или вынуждены как-то, так сказать, сотрудничать с организованной преступностью. Вот как, так сказать, ваша компания, вы испытываете это?
Ну, мы выходим из положения, мы взяли на работу 2-3 человек, которые пользуются каким-то авторитетом в том мире. Они получают зарплату здесь за охрану официальную 1,5-2 миллиона в месяц. И ни один босяк не переступает порог этого заведения.
Ну, босяк, да, а более серьезные, так сказать, люди.
Они имеют давление на более серьезные.
Meanwhile, my friends have been trying to contact the elusive KGB officer.